Okay, assignment 3 for Digital Art 1 is all about taking our fantasy landscape and then integrating into it a character. And the way to do that is by making sure you understand how the lighting affects the figurative elements as well as the setting, and how you can sync that character into the atmosphere and the temperature of the light and the direction of the light of whatever the setting is. And this is going to help inform us not just for compositing, but later for digital painting and for just being able to control our visual language with these tools. So here we have some nice examples that are about a character, but the setting is making all the decisions about how that character is lit, what the hardness or softness of those characters' edges. And you'll notice that the character in any of these examples, whether it's a tiny silhouette or whether it's being lit from underneath, whether the light is soft or whether the light is harsh, the character is not uniformly any one thing. It's not crisp. So it's actually the art of taking away. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the materials we already have. And the first thing we're going to open up is our Photoshop of our fantasy landscape. And the Photoshop file of our fantasy landscape has a lot of decisions in it. It has decisions as to the texture and the composition and the focus. You know, not everything is equally sharp. And then the other element we're going to use is our TIFF image of our composite creature, which is like just one layer that's cut out. It's like a sticker. Shouldn't have any debris floating around it. So let me get those both set up. And you can follow along with that if you like. There's my finished PSD, I was wondering. I have my PSD and then my final PSD, which has the texture fills. The texture fills we added in to our landscape assignments are really going to help us integrate into our creature. All right, so I have my landscape. Maybe shrink it a little bit with Command minus. And then over here on a new tab, I have my TIFF. So I'm going to swoop out that tab just so I can select that individually. And I'm simply going to click on this layer, click and drag that layer onto my landscape. And they are roughly the same size. They're roughly made to be printed at the same size. I'm going to put this at the very top layer, so it's now just on the top of everything. But that doesn't mean I need to keep my bird, in this case, as big. I want it to fill up about 20% or more of my landscape. So let's turn off auto select layer. So I'm on this layer. The first thing I'm going to do is make a duplicate of it and turn off the layer underneath so I can start playing with different positions and scales. So I'm going to hold down Shift, hit Command T, and start transitioning the scale. And I kind of like the use of this thing as a perch. And I haven't hit return yet. I'm still just transforming. I'm just looking and seeing how that would work. Yeah, I can see how I can make those claws kind of grip onto that. Another option is to have it be in this rubble here in the background. And actually, I'm going to try both, just to kind of show you the immediate differences we can make. So I'm going to make another duplicate of my original. shrink it down over here. And you can try this too. You can try multiple positioning. You can also use your transform tools in other ways. You could rotate it if you need to. You don't want to warp it because that will warp your anatomy. You can play sometimes with distortions. So, what are the upsides and the downsides of these two different positions? Well, I get to see the whole creature in both, but I don't like how the head, even though I like how the talons interact with this foreground element that's in sharp focus, I don't like how the head is really kind of hidden in shape, especially the lower beak here, by what's going on behind. So this one seems to showcase the shape of the creature a little bit better and is lit in a good way. And it gives me some rubble to help hide some of these talons and some of this brightness. And maybe I can even tuck that tail behind some of this stuff going on. So I think I'm going to go for the slightly smaller, though less dramatic. So let me approach it that way for now. Huh. Why is this doing this? All right. So now, as soon as I've brought my character in, I'm going to say File, Save As, not Save, and I'm going to save this to the desktop as Carl Digital Assignment 3, which I sometimes call my Creaturescape. But it's all about integrating the two together. And the first thing you want to recognize is how much they don't really work. So this character, my fantasy creature, way too colorful for this environment. So the first thing I can do is drag it underneath my texture fills. And wow, that makes a big difference. Just automatically it starts kind of helping match the color and the setting of the place. Now remember, these texture fills are these clouds we put in. And we can go the other way. We could just get rid of some of these texture fills to let our creature stand out more. But I tend to really like the texture fills. But maybe I don't want the creature to be behind all of them, so maybe I move this layer up through a few of them. So ultimately it's just this overall fill that's affecting it. That really helps its color. Next I want to think, okay, what else will help this creature blend in? Well, it needs to cast a shadow, right? If the lighting is coming from above, it needs to be darker and it needs to look like it has a shadow where it's standing. So let me play with where I position this. Let's see. And you can, if you need to, have your character crop off the edge, but it's usually not the most dynamic thing. So I think I'm going to have mine set down back here, but I need to have this rock come in front of my character's foot. So what I'm going to do is find that layer, and I can use, well, with texture fills it makes it tough, but I want to find the layer that has all that debris. There it is. And I'm going to copy and paste all this foreground rubble. By selecting around it and then Command J. I'm not going to do copy paste because that would actually offset it a little bit. So Command J will copy it exactly where I want it, and then I drag that above my creature layer. Turn my creature layer back on. And now you see I've put the simplest way to integrate. I've put something in between me and the viewer and the creature. So I'm setting him into the landscape. Now I simply have to take that rubble and maybe I'll layer it, foreground rubble, or name it. And just like we've had lots of practice doing, I need to clean up its edges. And this will help me when I put a shadow underneath my creature as well. So I'm just going to cut out this brick. It's a very distinct looking brick. Kind of let that leg show underneath. I can take the opacity down on the rubble to see exactly what I need to cut out. So around this talon, and I might even need to bring some more rubble in. So for instance, maybe I take this chunk, copy paste this in. You can always add to your composite to make it work with your character. Take this big chunk of brick. Now this could be grass, this could be rocks, this could be anything. Put it in front of my creature and move it into place using the move tool. Now you don't want things to be exactly copy pasted, so I'm going to use my transform tools. I'm going to rotate it. I might swap its orientation. That looks weird. There we go. So it's not so easily recognizable. And maybe I'll mask it with something else. That perspective doesn't quite work, so let me flip it again. Because that perspective works at least, but I want to put something else in front of it, like maybe. This is why we get high quality reference. Maybe some of this stuff. So just like all our other compositing projects, assignment 1 and 2, or even our cartoon jumble, I'm just building up components first. And then I'll be working to make them match each other. To give me a believable composite. Duplicate that, move that up top. And using the move tool, move it into place. Notice I don't have auto select turned on, so I don't get lost clicking on layers I don't want. And all of these choices we're making really just makes our compositing stronger. Because these are all creative decisions that we have made. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select around the talons here. Actually, what I can do is just select the parts of this creature that I want to show, and I can actually copy and paste that. On top of the rubble. There's lots of ways you can do it, but just to overlap it in just the right way. You can even slightly change the shape of it. So duplicate that for my creature. And then move my creature behind the rubble, but its foot in the right place.